members who aren't here, so they can go back and
Right.
review it and then give us recommendations.
Okay. So we'll just, we've got your responses from the questionnaire. And mainly we want to know about what you think, if you can just kind of fill in the blanks a little bit, about your experiences that you feel best align you with the mission of Stanford Children, provide quality education to every child.
Well, in my response, I did go through the public school system, so I do understand the need for quality public schools. I don't know if it came out in this, but I'm a labor leader. I'm the head of the electricians union. Have been a labor leader for over 30 years, active in the labor movement. The training I've received through that would allow me to be an advocate for groups such as this, which have a similar mission as labor organizations.
What made you interested in running for city council?
I come from a family who's been in public service. My father ran for office a couple times in California. He was a Methodist minister and member of the Peace Corps in Vista, and so we have a history of public service. And I just had thought about the city council for a long time, and then saw the direction they were taking, and ran in 2008 in a special election, and obviously didn't win. But I'm interested in public service, and I don't think the direction of our councils always goes in the best interest of the public.
Can you elaborate on that?
In particular, of course, my opponent wasn't on it when they initially did it, but in particular, the type of thing like they do with the school funding. There were probably some legitimate issues that they had as far as trying to make sure that all the public funding was done properly, but the way they did it, in my opinion, was totally irresponsible. They should have worked it out and then cut off the funding, rather than cut off the funding and then try to work it out. And that type of thing, I don't think is unfortunately the direction our council takes at times, and I'd like to see that changed.
And are you talking about the 2008?
Yes.
Okay. And, okay. And since we're on that topic, I'm going to ask a question. If you were elected to city council, would you still want to proceed with the counterclaim that the city has filed in regards to the court order to pay that $57 million, or would you be in favor of, what would be your position on that?
My position would be go ahead and pay it.
What do you think from you indicated that you ran in 2008, what lessons did you learn from that race that you feel like that you're incorporating into the current race that you're in?
Well, that election cycle was a lot shorter than a normal one since it was a special election, but the coalition building, I've had more time to do it this time, and even in the labor community, we didn't really have a whole lot of time last time to build a true grassroots campaign where we had people on the ground doing the get out the vote efforts and voter registration, that type of thing. And we've done a lot more of that this time around.
You said your children went to Memphis City Schools, or graduates of Memphis City Schools.
Yes.
Which high schools did they graduate
White
from?
Station, all three of them White Station.
Okay.
And why did you choose to send your kids to public schools?
I didn't think to do anything else. You know, like I say, I came through the public school system, not here, but having looked at all the different schools in the city, we saw that there was an opportunity for quality education, and I just believe in public schools. You know, if somebody wants to send their children to private schools, that's fine, but I've always believed in public schools and didn't look any other direction.
What do you think are the most pressing issues facing public education right now in the city of Memphis?
Obviously, the funding issue is a big one right now. Another issue is parental involvement. I think there are a certain portion of our students that don't have proper parental involvement in their education. And that's a difficult one to try and do anything about, but and not knowing a lot about your group yet, obviously that sounds like what you're trying to do is advocate for the children, and part of that would be to get parental and parents involved in their education.
Do you see, with your role in labor, do you see any type of partnership with the teachers union can help maybe be effective at addressing some educational issues?
Yes, and we've actually, since the last legislative session in Nashville, we've been working, the teachers union has been working a lot closer with the other unions on their issues. Just to be honest, over the years, they've kind of taken a standalone position where they didn't necessarily associate with other labor groups, and I think they've seen the error of their ways. And, we're working.
So they came together during the collective bargaining issue?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And we've worked with the teachers union here to somewhat before, but not to the degree that we did when the collective bargaining issue came up.
So ideologically, why do you believe in unions, and why do you believe in their right to exist?
That I wish we didn't need them, actually, but unions exist to represent the interests of the working people. And going way, way back, obviously the conditions we had in the workplace as far as child labor and all the way up the line, it's just made it obvious that we needed an advocacy group for the working people. And like I said, I wish we didn't need unions. I don't see myself being put out of work anytime soon, though.
Are a lot of the individuals who are part of the union that you represent, do a lot of them have children that attend public school, private school? Is it mixed, or?
It would be mixed, but probably we represent a fair amount of city and county workers, and most of them, I would say, probably have their children in the public school systems. Our construction group is going to be mixed. Some of them have, but I would guess probably more public than private.
In your opinion, what do you feel like are the most important elements of short-term and long-term strategic planning that the city of Memphis needs to undertake?
Short term, I think they need to get their fiscal house in order. They at times it seems to me, as observing the way they do, is they're reactive. They react to the situation when it arises rather than handling it when it needs to be. Because the school funding being a perfect one, they've known this was coming for 3 years, and they haven't done anything to try and do it till this budget season, and then at the very last second, they enacted supposedly a 1-year tax increase, which I'm not sure that it should have just been 1 year, because that funding's not going anywhere for a while, and we're going to be back next year looking for that 18-cent tax increase again to fund the schools.
And in long term, I'm sorry, just go ahead.
Actually, of course, Mayor Wharton and I have our differences at times, but I think he's actually started this on a long-term one, which is to attract new industries. We've lost major industries over the past 20 years, Firestone and Harvester, Kimberly-Clark, places like that used to provide decent jobs for the community, and they're not here anymore. And with the Mitsubishi and Electrolux plants coming, I think that's a move in the right direction as far as long-term health of the community.
As far as if you're elected to city council, and obviously we know someone like Jim Strickland, he's running unopposed, how would you work with building a consensus or working with other city council members who aren't perhaps don't have the same opinion on the funding matter specifically as you do? I mean, how would you go about working with them and interacting?
Obviously, you have to find some way to have a positive coalition with that group. I do have a history of establishing labor management partnerships in the different places that we represent. It's like Sharp Manufacturing in city and counties. when I took over the job I'm in now, we really didn't have any